Welcome back to another coaching in session. My name is Michael Reardon, and I'm a mindset coach. And today we're going to be focusing on two of the next books I recommend in the series of books I recommend to people who are looking how to get more out of their life. So if you look at last week's video, we were talking about Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And in that book, it talks to you about how you can get out of the rat race, how you can set up your life to be wealthy, and understand what is causing people to not be wealthy or not become wealthy. And that book is very key for not only attaining wealth, but for understanding how we are trained in schools. The school system wasn't built for us to be successful. The school system is built to make us just another part of society, right? To put it very lightly. You might think that school system, they're doing great. And yes, the kids are learning, they're having fun, they're doing all the things that they need to do. But if you understood and if you research what it is the kids are learning and why it is they're learning that, you'll be shocked of how much standardized testing there are for them, for how much things that, you would go into school and to learn and you will never use it in your real life. Yet when you get into your real life and you're an adult, you're wondering why you never learned all these things that you need to be a functional adult in school. So why is that? Because the school system is just there for you to get an education, which is great. I definitely promote education, but it's not there to bring you to that next level. So how do we get to that next level? And the two books we're going to be talking about today are going to be focused on to that next level. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, what one book can I do today for this video series, right? For the video cast. And I said, there is not one book because it's a mixture of two books. And even though we didn't get into finding what it is you're supposed to do, understanding who you are is very important first. So we need to not only look at ourselves and our lives and our environment, but we need to see what we know and what we don't know. One of my cooperating teachers I studied with, great mentor, wonderful guy. On the first day of school, he was a high school teacher. On the first day of class, every single class, he always started off, we're going to start from day one, from the beginning, right? And even though it might be an advanced class, he said he was going to start, from the beginning, from the bottom. And it's not because he didn't have faith in the students. It's just that he wanted to make sure that if there was any holes in someone's learning, he would be able to cover those holes to fill them in before they got to the harder stuff, to the more challenging things. So how many holes do you have in your life? How many holes do you have in your knowledge? What is the gap that is separating you between your life right now and the successful life that's just right, just right over the hill, like over the hill, over the horizon? So there's something that's stopping you, something you need to know, someone you maybe need to meet to help fill those holes, to make your ride and your progression toward greatness a little bit smoother. So let's get into the books, because both books have something to offer. And the first book is talking about mindset. So again, I'm a mindset coach, and what I do is I focus on the way you think, right? How do you see a situation and where do you go from there? So looking at the first book, we're going to notice what it's going to tell us, and it's everything to do with it being an adult. So let's just look at the screen really quick. And the book here is Mindset. I don't have the hard copy of the book because it didn't make my list of 30 books I need to own, but it's a very good book to start. So Mindset down here, I'm going to zoom in for everyone if you're having a hard time seeing. Mindset, the new psychology of success. So what does success mean, right? Success, we talked about, is going to be unique to you, right? You might be successful in a 1-bedroom cabin, maybe 350 square feet. Maybe you have a dog, pair of sneakers, a bicycle, three changes of clothes, warm socks, fireplace, an axe, right? Everything you might need, right? But it's not a Ferrari, a mansion, 5 bedrooms, 29 bathrooms. It's not that. So how do we determine our success? And in this book, Mindset, the Psychology of Success, they're talking about how can we get to our higher potential. And that's where you start, to be honest, because if you're going to say, I want to be successful, you need to start to understand how can you become better. Because if you can't become better, then you need not worry about success quite yet. Because if you become better, whether it be the way you think or what you do, you become successful, right? It's similar to the act of confidence. Confidence does not come first. It comes after doing the act. So you can do something over and over and again, and you will not be successful until a certain point, right? So if you are, let's say you're in real estate and you buy a home to be a rental property. Okay, great. You bought one home to be a realtor or just a landlord, and you have cash flow coming in. Are you successful on that one property? The answer is no. You're not successful quite yet. And you might have some type of success in that feeling, and maybe you only want to own one property. But we're talking about growth and cash flow. So if you're trying to increase your wealth, then one property is not going to be able to do it. So how many properties is the number that is needed to give you the life that you want, right? How much cash flow do you need per month to live the life that you want? And we can talk about numbers that you should be basically only spending 40% of your income, and that's after expenses. And then the rest you should be able to use any way you want. And for that 60%, I do encourage you to invest, save, or to reinvest your money. So that's success. But it talks about being a good parent. Let's get a little closer. Being a good parent. Being successful in business. Being successful in school. And being successful in your relationships. So that's a lot, right? Talking about your mindset. And we have all these different areas. And each area is going to require you to think a little bit differently, right? You're not going to be a parent and have the same type of thinking and logic as you would in your relationships. Because if you think about how a relationship is, it's almost like a 50-50 type of partnership, right? And we're not going to get into relationships yet. That's going to be next month. But just for the sake of today, we're going to say it's a 50-50 type of partnership. When you're a parent, it is not 50-50. And the reason why it's not 50-50 is because your young ones are not able to provide for you, right? They might be able to love you unconditionally. They might be able to make your day a little bit brighter, but that is not a supporting system for you, right? Love is not going to pay the bills. As much as I wish it would, it's not. So that type of difference, right? whether you're a parent and then a relationship, you're not going to have the same type of mindset. Because when it comes to parenting, it's going to require a different approach than it would in a relationship. All right. So each one is going to require a different type of mindset. So understanding all of those different types of mindsets are going to be essential to help you grow. And the book, what I really like about the book is very similar to what I teach. So if someone is just starting off and they don't know basically anything about what is the next step, how do I level up, what is mindset, right? I never even heard about mindset until college. So when it was school, in high school, it was always work, right? Study, take your test, get your grade back. If it's good, great. If it's not, oh my goodness. What are you going to do? How can you get that grade back up? So mindset was something that was very interesting to me, right? Self-growth, self-betterment. And when I started to go on that journey, that was in college though, but a little bit of my mind had started to change and evolve in high school, where I really didn't understand what really caused that. It was just a coming of age type of thing, where I said, all right, if I want my life to be different, I need to do something different. If I want to have a certain type of success, I need to look around me and be very choosy who I allow in my life. So just that simple thinking made me say, okay, these friends, I'm going to put them in this corner. These friends, I'm going to put them in this corner. And these people, I'm going to put front and center. This is where my focus is. So I started to focus a little bit more at what I needed to focus on. And that's why I recommend this book. Because if you are in a place where you're just confused, maybe you're afraid to fail, and you're not really sure what is the next step for you, this book is a really great starting point. And though you can read many of my blogs and get the book in separate chunks, the book does hold some type of consistency, right? Of course, you're not going to be a parent first. You're going to be working on school, then maybe a relationship because you're in school. Maybe you have a boyfriend or girlfriend. After school, maybe you're going to start a career, whether you're working in a minimum wage job or you were able to get an internship somewhere. This is high school. Now you're working, you have a career as business. And down the road, maybe you decide to have kids and now you're a parent. So it's going through the different phases you have to understand. And each mindset can be used in different areas. It's just certain areas are going to be different. And I like to think of it as a multi-tool, right? You're not going to use a parent mind when you're dealing with business, right? Because if you are going to say, oh, hey, Johnny, you can't do that. That's naughty. You're not going to say that to your business partners. They're going to look at you like you're weird. So don't be weird. Understand what type of mindset and when to use it. And that's kind of a trial and error type of thing. When I was a teacher, I was teaching K to 12. And teaching a kindergartner is not the same as teaching a 12th grader. Totally different animals. What you can say to a kindergartner, you can't say to a 12th grader because it's like almost baby talk, right? Where you might be dumbing it down, not in the sense that they won't understand, but in the sense for them to learn better and more efficiently. So when it comes to different types of mindsets, understanding that is key. And that is why that's one of the books I recommend. And then to join this book, we have going to be a John Maxwell book. So just right above it, Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Life's greatest lessons are gained from our losses. From our losses, winning and losing. What does that mean? Well, it simply means that our failures can sometimes be our greatest teachers. And a lot of people don't even want to fail. They say, oh, failure? I don't really want that in my life. So they don't even try. So they say to themselves, I'm not going to try because if I fail, I'm going to feel bad. And this is the next book I tell people to read. So these two books are kind of like you read one, then you read the other one. It doesn't matter which one you read first. I do recommend reading the mindset book first and then going into the John Maxwell, Sometimes You Win, Sometimes You Lose. That's the order I do recommend. And that's the order I tell high school students to start in. So now we have a list of books. We have Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Then we have our mindset, the new psychology of success. And then we have Sometimes You Win and Sometimes You Learn. And just those three books are going to be the starting points, your foundation for the rest of your life. And these are the books I recommend to high schoolers. And if you haven't read these books and you are in a low place or you're just starting off on your journey to success and wealth and the attainment of abundance, I do recommend these books to be your foundation, because not only do they give you valuable information, they give you stories of people who have already went through it, people who have failed, maybe even very similar to how you have failed. Maybe some of the stories might personify who you are right now. And that's fine. Because if you're on this journey, if you're on this road, that means you're trying to get better. And there's nothing wrong with trying to get better. Anyone who shames you for trying to be more and be better, it's most likely because they don't have it for themselves. You don't see haters hating who have everything. When's the last time you heard Jay-Z hating on the guy at Starbucks? He doesn't do that, right? Or let's say, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, famous actor. You wouldn't see him go to McDonald's and hate on everyone for eating at McDonald's, telling everyone at McDonald's they're lazy and they're fat. You won't hear that. That's unheard of. It won't happen. And that's because when you're at a high level of success and when you're at the top, you cannot be concerned with what the small whispers of those people who have hate and are throwing ill will at you. It doesn't benefit you. So understanding simply that you have something to offer and that you can offer it, you can attain any level. You don't need to worry about what someone says or what someone does. And that's where the fear of failure comes in, because many people are afraid to fail. I get emails from high school students who are graduating and they're worried about their next step. They don't want to go to college, maybe. Maybe they're thinking about joining the military. Maybe they're thinking about not staying in the family business and they just want some input. But it all circles around because they don't want to make a mistake. That is what is common in those high school students' way of thinking. They do not want to make a mistake because if they make a mistake and they fail, they fear that they can't recover. And I remember my financial advisor, I had a financial advisor when I was 18, and that's when I started investing. Right before the 2008 recession type of thing, I invested some money. And again, I'm 18, so I'm going to listen to the guy. But I kind of was worried about losing the money. So I was talking to him. I was like, but what about the recession? There's been talk on the news saying that we're going to have a recession and that it's probably not a good time to invest. And the investor said, you are 18 years old. If I was 18 and I started investing, I would be a multimillionaire, right? He said he gave me a number. And I was like, interesting. And what he tried or what he wanted to put in my mind was, you're in this for the long haul. So what if the market falls in a year, tomorrow, next week, right? It doesn't matter because you're so young. Compounding is going to take over. And by the time you retire, you're going to have an abundance of wealth. And that's where people struggle because they say, I fear losing this because I'm losing what I have. But what you have is not going to be what you will gain, what you will get. So if you can understand that there's something more in your life that you're going to achieve, you have to get rid of some things sometimes in order to get what is above, right? What is next? If you have a 1,500 square foot apartment and it's filled to the brim with stuff, and you move into, let's say, a 2,700 square foot home, you have 1,500 square feet of stuff, and you might not bring all that, with you, but let's say you did. What would you do? You would just fill up that 2,700 square feet with more stuff. So now you're at capacity again. You have to sometimes get rid of things to make room. Because you were content with 1,500 square feet, of belongings, but then you had a bigger house and now you need more things. That's where, a little bit of materialism comes in, where you need to feel like you need to have this area with a lamp or with a palm tree or something, right? And it's always going to be revolving, right? So if you're in a small house, you decorate your house and then you say, okay, my house is decorated. And then when you get a bigger house, you're like, oh, I got to decorate the house different. Maybe it's different paint color or there's different types of floor. So all the stuff you have won't work. So you buy new stuff and you have to decorate it and you fill it up again. And there's nothing wrong with there's nothing wrong with having a nice house. But we're talking about your mind and you're using the house as the example. If you keep filling up your mind with junk, because essentially that's what it is. It's a decoration, but it's nice junk. How can you make room for what matters? Maybe it is your partner. Maybe your kids, your passions, your gifts, your family members, your friends. What matters to you? And as soon as you can realize that, you're going to not be afraid of failing. You're not going to be afraid of falling. You're going to be more afraid of not trying. And even that fear of not trying is not going to appear as fear. It's going to appear as ambition. So what these two books do is A, help you get a strong mindset. A mindset that is strong enough for you to build your foundation on. You don't build a house on soil. You build it on a foundation. Because when you're building your empire, you're building up. That is why it's important to make sure the foundation is set. It's not slanted, it's not crooked, it's not cracked. It's ready to go. It's ready so you can build upon it. So you need a foundation in order to build your life. And that's what school's lacking. Yes, They teach you how to read. They teach you how to write. They teach you how to do math. But how many things have you learned in school that you have not used to this day? And maybe you're 55 years old. There's a lot of things. If you think back at algebra, trigonometry, maybe some types of biology. And it's nice to know those things, right? Especially if you want to try out for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. It's good to know things. But the more but the majority of things you learned in school are the things politicians said, okay, this would be good, good for you to learn. That's why there's history. And I think they just started to make it mandatory for a Black history or something similar to that. I would have to look a little bit more, so take that with a grain of salt. They're telling you what you need to know, right? These are people who are just directors. Maybe they are teachers for a few years. Maybe they're worried about the budget, because schools get more money the better the students do. So the top schools who have the highest performing students get more money. Why do you think we do standardized testing? Do you think it's to help our youth become smarter and better equipped for the world? No. It's to determine how much money the school should be allotted. And I'll never forget, we just implemented a new series of testing, and teachers are learning, students are learning how to do this test, right? I mean, it's on the computer mostly. I'll never forget, I went into a first grade class, and this is after they completed the test, and it was like a 3-hour test. And I just saw the looks on their faces, right? These are 7-year-olds. It looked like they just did a 9 to 5 with no lunch, with emergencies happening every single 30 minutes. Their hair was frayed. They were tired, bags under their eyes. It's first grade. And they're taking this type of test where they're so stressed. That cannot be healthy. It is not healthy. I saw it. And even though they're going to turn out well, right? Because it's not so much the school system that's going to push out what type of kids that are going to be coming into the world. It's more so the parents. And that's why I really enjoyed this first book, right? Mindset, the New Psychology of Success, because it also talks about parenting. It's not so much what you do when you're a parent, because your kids are going to do what they do. And they're going to learn from their friends, their peers, school. But they're also going to learn from just the home environment, right? What type of home environment have you set up for them? Is it positive? Is it negative? Is it one built on growth? Or is it dysfunctional? And there's nothing wrong with coming from a dysfunctional home, because you can change that. And I remember I was talking to one of the coordinators for Toastmasters. That was when I was doing some Toastmasters work. And we had a 2.5 hour conversation. And the premise of what I do is we're turning the impossible around. We're making never Reven, right? We are making the impossible possible. So you are always given a choice, either to do it or not to do it, to succeed or not to succeed, to win or to lose. You're given a choice. And what I tell people is to give in, not give up. And you might say, I'm giving in and I'm losing, but give in, give yourself in to your purpose, to your goal, to your gifts, to your passions, to your success, to your abundance, to your life, to your family, everything. Put everything you have in. Don't take it away. Don't give up. Tell yourself, what can I do to be better? Right? What can I do to be better? What can I do to grow? And that simple understanding is enough to shift your mind and say, I can do this. Because if you're thinking that you can't, then you can't. And that's what mindset is. It's allowing your mind to be more positive than negative. And if you have been reading my blogs for some time, but this is the first time I'm saying it on the video series, is that our mind is naturally negative. Right? We are about 100,000 years old with this evolution of humans, and our mind is naturally negative. And the reason why our mind is naturally negative is to keep us safe. But in our current society, we are pretty safe. We don't have to worry about saber-toothed tigers jumping out of the bush and trying to get us. We don't have to worry about hunting for our food. We don't have to worry about starting the fire to stay warm or skinning an animal, skinning an animal to get the furs we need to stay warm in the winter. We don't need to worry about that. We live a very plush life right now, where many of us have AC or means to cool ourselves off in the hot days. We have water, fresh water to drink, food to eat. Many of those things that we would have to work for when we didn't have grocery stores, personalized homes, etc. So our mind was negative in order to keep us safe. What happens if there's a saber-toothed tiger in that bush? You're going to be a little bit more cautious, right? Your body's primed for fight or flight. Maybe if you're going out hunting, you might maybe have a club, spear, arrows, right? You're going to go out and be prepared. Now we go out with a smartphone and our keys and we call it a day. Very different lifestyles, but our brain is still primitive in the sense it is negative. Our brain is saying, well, something could happen. So if it does happen, okay, I'll just kick in fight or flight and we'll be good to go. But fight or flight is beneficial to us. There is going to be limits, right? Because if you're out of shape, it doesn't matter how much your body gives you. You're going to run out quicker if you are out of shape than if you were in shape. And the same is true with your mind. Your mind's going to run out of gas and resilience before it achieves its goal. It's going to give up before it attains. And you hear this a lot in sales, because I was in sales too. You hear this a lot in sales, that people give up right before they succeed. Zig Ziglar, he's a motivational speaker. He was giving a speech one time, and he was talking about how he was in sales, and he had like a mentor he looked up to. And this mentor, one day after, just like a little meeting or a seminar, like a meeting brief, pulled him to the side, and he told Zig, "Such a waste. You're wasting your time. You have so much potential." And of course, he goes on and he talks about that a little bit more. How would you feel if someone pulled you to the side and said, "Such a waste. You have so much more potential"? What would you start to think? And most people are going to go to the negative, right? Because what our brain is naturally negative. Yeah, I am a waste. What am I doing with my life? I'm going to quit. I'm leaving. I'm going to quit. This is not, I wasn't built for this. This job wasn't for me. This is not my, like, this is not my passion. This is not my gift. This is not my purpose. This is not what I was meant to do. Well, Zig doubled down because he didn't hear such waste. He heard, you have so much more potential. So when you hear bad news, what is the first thing that comes in your mind? Do you hear the bad news and say, oh my God, that's such bad news? Or do you say, that's definitely bad news? Where's the bright side? Right? Someone was in a car accident. Are they alive? Not. Someone got in a car accident. They broke their arm. Right? You're focusing on two negatives. Where's the positive? And when he did that, he was able to be number 2 in sales the coming years. He went from being average to highly successful just because of the way he focused himself. He had all the skills he needed. And so do you. You have all the skills, and you might need a little bit of knowledge here and there in order for you to elevate yourself. However, many of the things you need, you have right now. And I can't tell you how many times people say, I'm going to do this when I do that, or I need to do this first in order to do that. And I have clients who say, I'm going to go to school and I'm going to do this, and I have to do this in order to do this. And I stop them. I say, wait, why do you have to do that in order to do that? Why can't you do that today? And they give me some excuse, and I tell them, no, thanks. That's not what I want to hear. If I'm working with you, we're going straight to the goal. And I make sure you're ready, of course. I'm not going to throw you off the cliff without a jetpack or a hang glider, something, all right? I'm going to make sure you are set to succeed, to fly. And if you're having a hard time not implementing things that are just going to slow you down, then that's where you need to find a mentor or a coach to kind of say, hey, I think you are going in the wrong direction. It's not even to say you're doing the wrong thing, your life is miserable, and you're going to be a failure. It's not that. It's simply saying, I think you can do something better. And this is how I think you can do it better. And you tell them and you show them and you offer it to them. And they decide if they want to take it, use that advice, or to continue down the road they're going. Fortunately for me, many of my clients, they always are going to be taking my advice and going down that road, right? Going down the road they need to go because they understand they need someone to push themselves. Just like if you were in the gym, if you go by yourself or if you go with a partner. If you go with a partner, if you're feeling down, guess what? Your partner is going to lift you up. Come on, let's go. Let's push it. But if you go by yourself, you have to do all that work all alone. And this is where a lot of people fail when it comes to the gym, because they say, I'm going to the gym, but they don't recruit a partner that's going to stay in the gym with them for the long haul. So if you're trying to get in shape, you should ask someone who's already going to the gym, who has a routine of going to the gym, and someone who's going to hold you accountable. So that's where trainers come in, typically, because trainers will be at the gym, and typically trainers are in shape. I have seen some trainers not in shape, and not at my gym, but I know in general speaking, some trainers are not in shape, and some trainers don't even know what they're doing. So not to say all trainers are bad, because that's not the truth. Similar to what people like to talk about is, one bad apple type of thing. It's either know your stuff or, figure it out. Training is not as difficult as it needs to be. And by that, I mean, understand the body. How does it move? How does it operate? What do you need to lose weight? How do you gain weight? Understanding those little things. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to learn about, I need to figure out how many calories are in a slice of bread, and they can't eat white bread because white bread is bad. It's only wheat bread, etc. You don't need to know that. Just understand the basics. And the basic is, if you're trying to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. That means more calories going out than calories are going in. Your body has maintenance calories, and then they have calories you can lose from working out. And of course, you have your calories you consume every day. And as long as your calories you consume is less than your output, you're good. So that's just fitness, but we are going to talk about that, I think, in November. So mindset, very important. Simply just understanding what it is. But then we get into the other one. I'm going to show you the books again for anyone who's just joining in. We have our 2 books. We have our mindset book, which we just spoke about. And then we have our sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Or so like he covers lose and puts learn, because you're not really a loser if you're trying. Because what makes a quitter a quitter? I think that's what needs to be talked about. The fear of failure stops many people from going after more in their life. They believe that they don't have what it takes. They don't have what they need right now. So they put off. They table it. They prolong the journey to attain something, right? They put a contingency on a goal, on a reason. And as long as you do that, you're going to have a very slow progress in your growth. So the person who fails 1,000 times is going to be better equipped than the person who has succeeded 10 times. And though it may seem like, well, I'd rather be successful than to fail and to lose. Yes, I understand failure doesn't feel good. I understand success feels really nice, but we learn so much from our successes. But we learn much more from our failures. And this is where a lot of people struggle, because they fail, but they don't pay attention. Because they don't want to analyze why they failed. They say, oop, I failed. How many times, this is for my high school, elementary school people type of mindset. How many times have you failed a test? You got the grade, you looked at it, it's an F, and you go, oh my God, let me put this away in my desk. And you put it away in your desk. And you don't look at it. You don't look at what you got wrong. And if you did look, I guarantee you look at what you got right, because it's easier to take in the positive notes to the test. All right, I got this, I got that, I got that. But learning is not so much about what you know, it's about what you don't know. So you can learn what you don't know. Because if you already know it, why do you need to learn it more or better? When I was training and doing instruments, with new instruments that I'm learning, even guitar, when you're reading a piece of music, it is advised, once you are playing the music, that if you make a mistake, you don't go back to the same mistake. And if you go and you stop on that mistake, you're going to make that mistake again. So it's very interesting how paying attention to your failure causes more failure. But if you say, okay, I'm going to play past that piece, and you play past the piece and you complete the piece and you look back at the piece, but not at your successes, but at the failure, you are going to be better able to be successful in the piece the next go around. And I find that interesting, because if you're going to only worry about what is going to be going on or going wrong, how can you worry about what will go right? And the same is true for your life. And Kalam just asked, how do we stop procrastination? Well, procrastination is a mindset. Procrastination has to do with your confidence. It has to do with you understanding what needs to be done. And we're global. I think we have Germany in chat too. If you procrastinate, it's because what you want to do requires a certain amount of energy. And you won't apply that energy until the fear of not doing it is greater than the fear of doing it. So I'm going to say that a little bit different, and I'm going to say it again. The reason why people procrastinate is because they fear doing it. They don't want to do it, right? If I don't want to do something, you have a type of fear toward doing it. I don't want to go to the gym. Well, why don't you want to go to the gym? Because I'll look stupid at the gym, right? Fair. Maybe you don't want to go to the gym because you're tired, right? Let's say you're tired. So you have a fear of getting better. The fear of not doing it is not greater than the fear of doing it. So how do you get over it, right? How do you not procrastinate? And that is a mindset trick. And what I do with my mind is I count. You count. What does that mean, right? Simply telling your mind that it has a time limit. In schools, they do this without the kid even knowing that they can't procrastinate. They'll put a timer on the board or on recess, right? So when recess is over, the bell rings. When the bell rings, guess what happens? Everyone lines up. Why don't we have many students saying, oh, I'm not going to line up. I'm going to keep on playing? That doesn't happen. Well, it does happen because we do have some rebellious children, and shout out to them because they're amazing. It's because they understand time's up. I had my fun. Now it's time to get back to work. And somewhere in our life, whether it be in high school or college, we were able to give ourselves some leg room. And the moment you give yourself some leg room and you procrastinate one time, it only takes once, it becomes a habit. So now you have a habit of procrastinating because you procrastinated once. It's the same thing as failing, or the fear of failure. You procrastinate one time or you fail one time, you create this habit, and then it becomes habitual. So understanding how not to create procrastination is just as important as managing it. So her name is Mel Robbins. She came up with the 3-second rule. And I use this 3-second rule every so often because I'm typically a go-getter. So if I want to do something, boom, it's done. But if I find that I'm procrastinating for some odd reason, that it is happening, maybe I'm tired, or I just had a rough day, or I just tried to unwind in some way, I give myself 3 seconds. And I use this for maybe getting up in the morning. I use this for getting off my phone if I'm doing emails or something that's maybe a little bit less productive. Or I do this when I need to talk to someone. All right. So I might be talking to CEO. If you're dating, this is where I will tell people, if you're going to approach someone, give yourself 3 seconds and count down 3, 2, 1. If you go on one, you start talking to that person or start taking the steps to that person, you have succeeded. But if you haven't, you reinforce your brain that you're not going to do it, and you shouldn't even think about it anymore. So if you're procrastinating for, let's say, your paper, right? Or if you're doing like some type of assignment and you procrastinate on it, give yourself 3 seconds. Say 3, 2, 1, and then to start doing the action, whether it's get your book bag, open up the book bag, pull out the book, get your pencil, your notepad, start the process when you hit to 1. And your brain is going to start to rewire itself. So when it hears 3, 2, 1, it's going to say, uh-oh, he means business. So I'm going to get to work. The brain wants to be lazy. Why do you think parents count down 3, 2, 1 and then punishment? Because it works. So just using 3, 2, 1 in anything that you want to accomplish, that maybe you're more timid or afraid, or you just really don't want to do it. 3, 2, 1, and you start the process. Because if you were confident in something, you would want to do that. And then the fun factor, if you enjoy it. For all my gentlemen, especially my younger gentlemen, if you're into video games, you'd rather play video games than do work. And there's nothing wrong with that. But when do you do work, right? Maybe you do have to go to work, make money. Maybe you have an assignment you have to do. Schedule it. And how I get around my current day to not allow procrastination to take over, my whole day is scheduled. I schedule it out. My mind is very organized. My life is very organized. And it's not mundane because I understand that this is a section, right? This is one moment. And after this moment, there's a new moment. And that moment could be whatever I want it to be. Just like I completed one video series, now this is the next video series. And after this video series, it might be another video series, or it might be a series of workshops around the country, around the nation. Who knows what's the next step? Because the next step is going to be whatever I want it to be, whatever I need it to be. And it's always some type of challenge, because procrastination typically comes when you are dealing with some type of challenge. If something is more difficult, you're not going to want to do it as easily. So understanding that if something's difficult, okay, do you do the difficult thing first or do you do it last? And the best way I can tell you how to identify if you're that type of person is to get some type of candy you like, but it has to be multi-flavor candy, whether it be fruit snacks, Starburst, where they have different colors, pink, red, orange, yellow, and rate those. So let's use Starburst, for example, because Starburst is a candy that many people know about. So the OG Starburst, we have pink, red, yellow, and orange. Which one is the best color? It's not a secret. Which one do you like? So whatever color you choose as your top, what's your number 2? So once you have your number 2, figure out your number 3. And then figure out the least favorite, your number 4. And what you do with that understanding, so you have your favorite Starburst, your second favorite, your third, and your fourth favorite. But you only have 4. How do you eat them, right? What order do you eat those Starbursts? Do you eat your favorite first, or do you eat your less favorite first? That's going to tell me more about you than you know about you, because you don't pay attention to that. You go, oh, I'm going to eat the good one first. Okay, great. The good one is going to be the easy stuff. So if you have to clean the house, maybe the easiest thing for you to clean is your room, or picking up the clothes, right? Or maybe just putting a load in the wash. But maybe the most challenging thing to do is you have to do the dishes. And maybe your parents or whoever's cooking doesn't know how to cook and they burnt all the dishes. So then it's even more work for you. That's a lot of work. Your least favorite thing. So identify your most enjoyable thing and your least favorite thing. And if you're the type of person who wants good first, then you want to do the easy thing first. But if you notice that you would eat backwards, right? So you eat your less favorite and you save the best for last, then you want to do the most challenging thing first. And we need to talk about decision fatigue also. Each day, you're allotted a certain amount of choices. And even though it might seem like, oh, I can make as many choices as I want in a day, you're already making like 30,000 choices a day, subconsciously or consciously. That's why when the day is over, when you work a 9 to 5, at 5 o'clock, the majority of people are coming home and they're sitting on the sofa. The majority of people are going out to get fast food. Maybe not the majority, but a good amount of people are going out to get fast food instead of cooking. And it's because they ran out of energy to make proper, healthy choices. So understanding that too can stop procrastination. But then circling around to our books again. What is your mindset telling you? You have a mindset saying, all right, I'm going to take it easy on myself? Or do you have a mindset that's saying, hey, I understand this is difficult right now, but we're going to push through it, right? We're going to get to the other side. And when it's time to rest, it's time to rest. If you played any sport, there was a time to rest, whether it be halftime, timeouts. Maybe there was a foul or something went on in the game where there was a brief pause. You can rest there. But when it's game time, you're not lollygagging. You're not just walking around aimlessly. You have a purpose. So do that. Follow that. And then not to be afraid to fail. The most important thing is to understand that your failures are going to bring you great things, not the opposite. If you think failure is going to tear down your life or is going to make you more inferior than someone else because you failed, you're wrong. Because I appreciate a person who tries and fails than someone who's even afraid to try. Because there's two main differences. You have one person who's willing to look foolish, who's willing to feel bad for an hour. One person who's willing to succeed, even if the chance is slim. But then you have one person who protects themselves, stays stagnant, exactly where they are. But the most important part is that they will not have success because they didn't even try. You have to try in order to have success. And going back to the two books so you can see what those two books are. Mindset, The Psychology of Success, and John C. Maxwell's book, Sometimes You Win and Sometimes You Learn. And you might see many coaches, I know on LinkedIn, for some reason, there's so many coaches who get training from John Maxwell. And I wonder, why does everyone get training from John Maxwell? And I will say that I have talked to many of them, and everyone I have talked to has been delightful. They are very wonderful people. They are ambitious. You can see the sparkles in their eyes where they're just exuding happiness, right? Motivation, because they understand what's possible. What's next is what they want. And if you can understand from reading these two books, your mindset and your failures are 2 in 1. You need both to get to the next step. Because if you learn about mindset and all the wonderful things that it can do, the next thing your brain is going to say, but what if I fail? What if I fall? What if I don't make it? And that's why these 2 books should be read back to back. And that is going to be the second series of books I recommend. So the first book being Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and then these being our second series of books. That is going to help build the foundation you need for the next steps, right? The next part of your life. Because we all want better for ourselves. We all want to be in a better place. We have dreams. Maybe you want to own a big mansion, a yacht, Lamborghinis, whatever it be. You can have it all. But you can't have it all if you're not willing to put in the work. If you're not willing to adjust your mindset and to focus yourself towards success. If you're not willing to fail because you're not even willing to try. And don't allow procrastination to take over. It's going to not serve you anything. Would you like if your waiter procrastinated with your food at the restaurant? Would you like if your parents procrastinated giving you your allowance? Would you like if your boss procrastinated giving you your paycheck? No. You wouldn't like it. So why do you procrastinate in your own life? Procrastination doesn't bring you anything better. What it brings you is temporary false comfort. Because you will have to do it. And if you don't do it, is there a consequence? And if there is a consequence, is it severe enough for you to care or not care? And sometimes applying consequences to your goals, to your mission, will help you and allow you to put more focus and more directive on achieving it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more on Friday. I do have an interview that we're going to bring in another coach, and she's going to be talking about her career. And I'm going to be asking her some questions very similar to questions I ask first-time clients of mine. But she's going to talk to me about how she works with her clients and how you can help elevate your life. So that's going to be coming on Friday. And until then, email me at coachinginsession. Ask me your questions and I will be sure to get them on air. If you are just coming in to chat, you can always ask your questions in chat. I do have chat up, so I will be able to read them and be able to answer those questions too. All right. So if you can ask them in chat, you will have those questions answered. And if you're feeling nervous, you're feeling shy, you don't want people to send you a message saying, oh, you don't know about this, then you could send me an email at Coaching in Session. Subscribe, follow, like, do all the great things with the video just to keep the interaction up. And we will meet again Friday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And until then, take care.